So welcome. I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation. Real people, real conversations, and real success. Today is about following your dream. Live an inspirational lifestyle. We don't live forever. You owe it to your own kids and the people whose life needs your inspiration for change. So here's a question. Who do you owe the best possible lifestyle, best possible health, besides yourself? I guess in my particular case, and many people that are actual parents, that you probably do owe it to your own children. You brought them into this world, and quite frankly, they do need your help. But what about all those other people out there that could also use your gifts, your talents, your inspiration? And that's the story of Jorge Lopes, an actor and coach. And I want to welcome him today on this platform. New voices, new solutions, your prescription. Jorge, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I love your story. It's an inspirational story. People have it all made in life. They get all the things in life handed to them, and some people don't. And in both camps, some people make it and some people don't. But you clearly didn't get everything handed to you, but you decided that you were going to take life, you're going to live life on your terms, and that's an incredible journey that you went through. So I'd like to start off today, because today is about inspiring others. The choices are out there for everyone just to grasp. Those people out there that say, hey, you know what, this is life, and I can't do anything about it, is not true. And so one of your missions, I understand, is helping others. So how did you start your journey?
Well, for me, it started off ever since I was young. I've always been the child that's always trying to help, and but it really started for me when I got help. I fell into Tony Robbins' book. I picked up one of his book. I was at a low point in my life at that time, and I was dealing with a lot of things. I had a daughter. I was having problems with my daughter's mother. I was having problems with family. I was having problems everywhere that you can think of. And so what happened is I ended up picking up his book, and I started reading the book, and it spoke to me. And then I attended one of his seminars, his UPW seminar. And then from there, my eyes were open into the possibility of actually being able to do better and be better. I've always had that inclination that I was meant to do better. And I think part of that was instilled in me by my grandmother as I was coming up. She was always telling me that, I was meant to do better things, and I was meant to do good things. So I said, okay. And with that said, going through his university, I saw a path and a way to actually not only do better for myself, but also give that gift to others. And so I went through his university, started my own coaching company, Destined to Succeed, and I started coaching people. And I feel really good when I am able to help someone going from a stuck state to an unstuck state. And I'm not the one that do the work; they actually do the work. But I feel really good to be able to guide them through that. And part of it started with me posting little quotes on Facebook, and just on a daily dose, I would give myself a quote up there, something a standard that I wanted to live by for that day. And then I started getting a ton of messages from people saying that they love my quotes, they were inspired by it, and from one thing led to another, and here I am.
So you've already changed a lot of people's lives. That's brilliant, and that's inspiring in itself. And I want to thank you and honor you for doing things like that. But I'm kind of curious, because I'm going to share my story after I hear yours. Because what was it like that first time that you picked up that book, and also the first time you went to that first event? What was that experience for you?
Well, the book really, when I picked up that book, I read the first few pages. And actually read the back of the book first, and then I started reading the first few pages. When I read it, it just spoke to me, and it was like, oh wow! It started to help me forget about the problems I were having at that time. I would just shift my focus basically at that time. My focus was shift. I wasn't focused on the problem anymore. I was focusing on what the book was saying to me. And then I started focusing on answers in the book, things that I could use to adjust the way I was thinking and reprogram my mind, in a matter of speaking.
Right.
And so for me, I felt like I found the key. That's how I felt. I was like, oh, this is a secret. No one knows about this. And so I just dived deep into that book. And then after I was getting ready to finish the book, this feeling came over me saying like, okay, you know what? Then what next? And I was like, I'd love to know if this guy speaks. And I was taking the train at the time, and I grabbed the metro, and there he was in the metro, and he's coming to Boston. And so I called the number, asked if it was the same guy, and they said, yeah, it's the same guy. And so I wasn't sure if I wanted to go because the price was really high at the time. I was like, wait a minute, here I am, a college student, and the price is pretty high. It was almost everything that I had in my bank account at the time. So I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. But the guy that was on the phone, he was really good. He said, you know what? I'll tell you what, I guarantee you that this is so good for you that if you go within this, if the second day, if it's not for you, you go back, get full refund. So I said at the time, I was like, okay, yeah. And then, but after day two, I said, he can keep the money. And that's how my journey started with that. But when I first went to the seminar, I was looking at everyone like, people in here are pretty crazy. Everyone's jumping around, everybody's happy. And that's not a place I was at my life at that time. Everything was, I wasn't feeling like that. I didn't want to jump around. But then he did this exercise where people were just giving each other love, through the eyes in the room. And there was this little girl. I mean, I think she was like probably about 14 at the time. And she just filled me up with so much love that I couldn't help but to take it in. And then from there on, and that was the first day. And we got to walk on coal. And after that, it was, I was like, I was in.
So life was never the same again after that.
Yeah, definitely. Life was never the same again. It hasn't been the same. And ever since then, I've gone through the university, and I go back every year and volunteer just so I can give back and, see other people go through this transformation. It becomes contagious when you do that.
It really does. And what's so contagious, and I have to agree with you, George, is the fact that you discover things that you didn't know, and you find new solutions. And the great thing about finding those solutions and the question, it gets exciting because, if you have problems, which we all do, if you have challenges, which we all do, and the problem is that when you don't have the solutions, you don't know what to do about them. And, none of us has all the answers right away. None of us gets all the education that we need to do the things that we want in life. But unless you do what you did, is go out there and take a chance. And your story is absolutely classic. I mean, it's you don't have you can't afford to go, but something inside of you says, look, I got to do this. And look at you today. I mean, you're actually the lead in a movie that is being put into Sundance next year. I mean, that's incredible.
Definitely. I mean, it's funny because when I decided to follow my dream, and I have to say I've been fortunate enough to have some great mentors around me. I mean, from when I was a teenager, I was a troubled youth. And, I was involved in gangs and stuff. I mean, it's part of the neighborhood I grew up in. And because of that, I was able to find mentors or that saw my potential because I was one of those kids that you say had a duality where I wasn't a straight A student, but I got really good grades in school. I was smart, but I also I lived in a tough neighborhood, so I had to have the street life also. So, and I was lucky enough to have people see that, and they were able to guide me, and that actually helped me to go to college. Because other than that, I probably wouldn't have gone to college. And then I had the mentors, and I found Tony as a mentor. From having those mentors to being able to point me to go to college, and then finding Tony as a mentor, and I've had him in my life. I mean, I listen to his messages every day. I mean, every day when I'm at the gym, I go on YouTube and I listen to Tony while I'm working out. So I've been fortunate enough that, and it's funny because the same thing happened to me because acting has been a passion of mine ever since I was 15 years old. And I ended up meeting Tasha Smith and Angela Bassett. I met Angela Bassett in an elevator. And Tasha, I go to an event and Tasha is teaching this event. She has me to go on stage to go do a scene, and Angela Bassett stops me in the middle of the scene because another actor said something to me and I listened to her. And Angela stopped me in the middle of the scene and gave me an hour of coaching right there and then. And then they said to me,
Wow.
After I was done, everyone got up and, I got a standing ovation basically. And this is in New York. And I'm coming from Boston. And I'm like, whoa. And so Tasha comes to me and said, you got what it takes to be in this industry. You just need to have the right coach. I said, okay, I'm all about that. And so she took me to Susan Batson's studio. She took me to the Susan Batson studio and said, you need to study here. It took me 2 years to find the courage to actually take that leap to do that. But then after that, life has never been the same. I mean, I went to this audition for this role for Convicted. It was actually called Yellow Moon at the time. And when I went to this audition, I wasn't looking to play the lead because I said, hey, you know what? I'm coming in and I'm a new actor. So I'm looking to just get a under 5 or something, because from what I've heard is you get an under 5 and then you work your way up and, then you get a co-starring role. And then pretty soon before you got to work your way to being the lead. And I walked in not wanting that role. And then I got offered the role the next day after I did the audition.
What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you that you walk in, with a certain kind of expectation or a certain intention, if you will, and you get something that was beyond your expectations or even your dreams? What was that like?
Well, for me, when they called me, I hope the producer doesn't hear, but when the producer called me the next day and she was like, we'd like to give you the lead role for this project. I said, okay. And she said, one of the reasons we wanted to give you this role is because we really wanted a strong actor. And I had to take the phone and look at the phone. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, is she talking to me? And
you got the wrong number.
The thing is, it was like then I realized, like, wait a minute. I'm at a point. I'm at the cusp or at the edge of my comfort zone, and it's scaring me because it was scary to say, because she said, you're going to be carrying this project, and I was like, whoa. And then when I met the director, he told me the same thing. He said, a lot of this is relying on you. And it was a heavy burden for me because I'm like, okay, here I am. I've been training at the Susan Batson studio for about a year and a half or so. And I didn't expect to get a lead role. Then I get the lead role. And now it's like, now I have to deliver. I remember I went to the Susan Batson studio and I sat down with Susan's son, Carl Ford, and I said, hey, you know what? I mean, they offered me the lead role. I don't know if I want to do it. And he said, why don't you want to do it? I said, well, because one, I'm playing a sociopath. And 2, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And he looked at me and said, you're ready. When are you going to be ready? I said, I guess now. So then I started working on the character, and 7 months later, we started shooting the project, and now it's in the can.
So well, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
And I think anything like this, it takes a lot of courage. Also because it's a huge responsibility. You have a responsibility to, of course, all the actors and actresses that you work with, but the whole production team, a lot of money going into this. But it only starts with that because your responsibility is, in essence, as an actor in a movie, is a message to the rest of the world. It's there. And so was that going through your mind when you thought about being that lead actor and that kind of responsibility?
Yes. I mean, actually what helped me out was the responsibility. Saying, okay, you know what, I have to step up and step into this responsibility because not only is the cast and crew depending on me, not only is, the producers and executive producers depending on me, it's also a message where I can, because for me, this character is someone I grew up with. I mean, I grew up in a neighborhood. I grew up in Dorchester and Roxbury. And this character that I got to portray, I had friends like that. I seen people like that. And so it was I took it as an opportunity for me to tell their story and share what it is to be in their shoes. So the responsibility was the thing that kept me grounded, because it's like, okay, now I have to make sure that one is truthful and authentic, and two, that I do service to this character, as far as this person is someone that's in my life that I've seen while I was growing up. So I wanted to tell their story, because I mean, their story don't get told a lot, and it was an opportunity to do that. So I took on that challenge, and that's, I think, for me, what kept me grounded. It kept me to face the fears, because I mean, every single day it was a challenge to know that when I'm going on set, I know that I have to carry this character. I know the weight of what's required of me. So yeah.
Were those feelings still a mix with feelings of pride that you were chosen and that people believed in you? I mean, wasn't that a cool experience at the same time?
Well, to be honest with you, I never ever even thought about people believing in me. It really scared me
Right.
to have that. I never thought, okay, well, they believe in me. Yes, in hindsight, yes. After I was done with the project, like, yeah, I mean, it's cool that they believed in me. But at that time, I was focused on, making sure that because that was one of the things that I talked to my coach Carl about, and Susan, was about making sure that I bring some humanity to this character, even though he's a character that, we would look at and say he has no humanity. And my focus was to be able to bring some humanity and say, okay, this is someone that you can, you can look at and see why they've chosen the path that they've chosen in life. And I mean,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I hope that I did do that, and we'll find out when it comes out, because I haven't seen the entire project yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
No, I've seen clips from it, and I'm like, I love the clips that I've seen, but I haven't seen the entire project yet.
Well, all I can say, and I've met a lot of people in my time and in my interviews and the work that I do as a physician. But one thing I totally respect about you, and like I said, we just met, is that you really are authentic, and you have this sense of humility about you that is really honest, and it shows. And I think people respect that in you. You're not this showy kind of guy that's trying to be somebody that they're not. I mean, you truly are yourself, and I think that's the essence of you is pretty awesome, and I honor you for that. But I have a question for you. And I don't know if you're allowed to share this if people haven't seen the movie yet, but what's the core message of Convicted?
Well, Convicted, I believe that the core message, at least from my perspective, is that here you are, life is all about choices. And here you are, this character, you have two characters that are thrust into this circumstance where they were best friends, and then at one point they both made different choices, and one didn't have a choice, but when we meet him, he's now made a choice. And to me, it was a touching choice, because and I wasn't playing that character, but the character, he has to deal with a choice where he has a 14-year-old daughter, and he now wants to be in his daughter's life and make sure that she doesn't live the lifestyle that he lived. So he makes the choice to change his life, and then you have the antagonist, which is my character, who doesn't agree with that choice. And so the core message, I think, it's for every single one of us, we become the choices that we make, and we do have a choice at any moment in life. You can switch and decide to do something different. If your life is not going the way you want it, switch it and do something different. And that's what I believe this core message is about this.
And you're spot on with that, George. It totally is true, and it's interesting because there's this equation, cause and effect. And most people in the world, the estimation is about 97% of the people in the world are really at the effect of the world around them. Their life is because of what's happening outside of them. And yes, you're right. People have choices, and you can be at cause. You can decide. You are basically the summation of all your decisions, all your experience. And as I, jokingly like to tell people, it's your fault you're here right now.
Yeah, definitely.
And clearly, it's a matter of finding more choices. And it's interesting because my story, I was very lucky growing up and grew up in 5 different countries, and went through medical training 17 years, had 3 beautiful children, and my relationship wasn't great with my spouse at the time for a lot of reasons, and I'm not going to get into it. But I thought at that point in my life, when I just started my practice in plastic and reconstructive regenerative surgery, that I had it made and I was stuck. And what was interesting, and I had the same experience with you when I went to my first event at Tony Robbins. I really didn't want to go out. Actually, different than you. You wanted to go. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to hang out with all these crazy people that were having way too much fun, and they were in jeans and cut off shorts or whatever, and just having an incredible time. And so what was interesting, I went to a sales event. So it was a single day event. Very unwilling to go into this thing, not believing anything that Tony was saying when I had seen him on the Shopping Network, promoting his videos. But I have to tell you, at that event, within the first 10 minutes of that event, my whole life changed. And from that very moment, I got so excited, and I made a decision in that moment, and I appreciate and respect, what you're doing as well, because you have a daughter. And I realized in that moment that I was not being the dad I was meant to be for my own children. Wow. And I was so excited because my whole world of opportunity suddenly opened up because of one man. That's Tony Robbins. And what was really cool about that is that I realized the whole world of opportunity was just there, and I just didn't know about it. And so for the rest of my time, this is what I've been helping people with, sort of like you. You coach people, you help people, you want people to succeed, just like I do. And the reason for my platform, Prescription-Free Transformation, is to help people discover what they don't know that they don't know. Finding people like you. So if there's an actor out there that wants to make a shift in life and you've gone through that, my success with this platform is that they get to find you. And so it's an amazing thing that you're doing for others. And I know that you're very dedicated to your own daughter. Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, I definitely love my daughter. She's ever since she was born, she's been by my side basically. And I used to create this thing where, and I think I got it from Tony. I'm not sure if it was from Tony, but I used to try to do daddy-daughter dates. And just to make sure, because I wanted to make sure what I want to do for her is I want her to be inspired to follow her dreams. So that's why I'm following my dreams, because I want to leave an example. I can't just tell her, hey, Deja, do this and have it be okay, because if I'm not doing it, she's not going to do it. So I figured, if I do it and have her see the success that I'm having, see the success that I'm creating, then she will be able to follow her dreams, no matter what it is that she wants to follow in that path. And to me, she's the love of my life. Basically, it's like, and I don't. I mean, I know every parent would probably say that, but for me, it's like I had the upbringing that I had, the way that I was raised. I didn't really have that. So every single day for me, it's like I always try to tell her I love you, because I want to make sure that she knows that I love her. But then I also try to do something to make sure that she knows that I love her, because I want to make sure that she has a different upbringing than I did. And she's had that. She's had a different upbringing. She didn't have to grow up in an area where she see gang violence. I think she saw it once, and we were in a car and we just parked in the wrong neighborhood, and something started happening. People started shooting, and she I think she was at 3 at the time, or 4 or something like that, and she jumped to the floor of the car. And for me, it scared me, not because of what was happening. What scared me is because that she had saw that, and I didn't know how it was going to affect her, and I didn't know how to talk to her about that. And so, when we did go home, I had to sit down with her and talk to her, and try to figure out where she was with it. And she's okay with it. She was fine after we spoke, but she was terrified. I didn't want that to affect her. And so, with that said, is she did one thing for me, which was, for me, having her helped me to find a different type of love, and not that I'm using her as a vehicle for love, but she is one of my vehicles for love. You know, and just watching her grow, having the opportunity to watch her grow brings me so much joy. And you know, I try to share that with her as much as I can.
Well, she definitely is a lucky girl, and you're a lucky guy, and it's a beautiful thing to have her children. And the truth is that we actually owe them a lot, and it's important for us to guide our children. And unfortunately, so often we just don't know those tools. And I know she's 14 now, and you've been in the Tony world for the last 12 years, so she's one lucky kid. My kids started a little later than that. I think my youngest was about 6 or 7 before she was introduced to the Tony world. And the truth is that they've been influenced by that. And again, I'm very grateful for Tony Robbins and all the things that he does, and as are you. And what I appreciate about you, George, is that you said something to me earlier on, living an inspirational lifestyle. I mean, that's brilliant. Mm-hmm. And share about that, what that means to you, and because it truly inspires other people to change their lives as well, I'm sure.
Well, for me, living an inspirational lifestyle comes from the concept of basically we have to have a legacy. And I mean, one of my legacies, yes, it's my daughter, and she's a legacy of mine, but also a legacy in creating something that other people, and I get this from being in the Robbins environment and being around people that inspire me, like Ty Lopez and other people like that. It's like when you're around these people, you can't help but to think bigger, believe in bigger things, and being able to create bigger things. So for me, with that, is like I know that I come from a community where people don't get that. I believe that I'm very fortunate that I was able to find Tony. I was able to find these avenues where as soon as I found Tony, he opened my eyes to a different world that I now seek that type of world. And because of that, I try to make sure that people that are not able to have that inspiration in their lives, I try to make sure that they get it. I try to make sure that anyone that I come in contact with, I make sure that I leave them feeling better or leave them inspired. And so part of it is like, it's basically trying to live each day to the fullest. And what I mean by that is finding those moments in life or every day when you go to bed saying, hey, you know what? Did I deposit in inspiration today in this world? Did I deposit my time today in that bank, the inspiration bank? Because every day, I mean, if you follow me on my Facebook or if you're following me on my Instagram, you'll see that I'm posting something that's inspirational, that inspires others. And funny enough, it didn't start that way. It started off with me trying to find a way to actually keep myself inspired. And so I would go on Facebook and I would choose different quotes that motivated me, that I inspired. I would schedule all of that. So when it posts on my Facebook, I see it and it inspires me. I didn't take it that day and put it there, but it was something it just served as a reminder for me. And then I started having people sending me messages saying you inspired me. As a matter of fact, when I was on set working on this project, Convicted, one of the actors over there started following me on my Instagram, and he sent me messages saying, "Hey, you inspired me." And now today, I told him why I did that, and why I started doing that. And today, I see him; he's posting things that inspire him and to inspire others. And I see that, and I'm like, I feel like, okay, you know what? I've been able to leave something with someone else that can help them grow. And that's basically it for me as an inspirational lifestyle, is doing things that inspire others, whether it be traveling, because I've been fortunate enough to travel to many countries now, and going to all these countries also opened up my mind and opened up my view of the world. And by going there, taking these pictures, and then I post these pictures, and I post some videos about that. In that, I have people sending me messages that, asking me questions about that, and I just share my message with them.
Nice. That's awesome. Can you imagine a world if everyone did what you did? just inspiring everyone else? I mean, that would be pretty awesome, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I think it would be. I think we would have, a better world, and that's part of. I mean, I think that that's part of all of our responsibility as humans, as humanity community, that we try and inspire someone else, and so we can inspire by helping to create a better world. And I that would lead me to something else that I ended up doing. It's I have a page on Facebook called Living Cancer Free, and I created that page because I before I didn't know anyone that died of cancer. I didn't know anyone that had cancer, and I had a friend who, ever since he was 16, he was always on the cell phone. Then by the time he hit 25, he got diagnosed with a brain tumor, and when he got diagnosed with the brain tumor, I watched him deteriorate. And at the time, I was doing certain things that he wanted to do. He wanted to be able to get on a stage and speak to people and help inspire other people. And he came to me, he said, "I want to do this," and I didn't know that he was dying at the time. When he came to me, he said, "Hey, I want to do this. It's a dream of mine, and I see that you're doing it now. I want to do it." So I said, "Okay. I mean, I'll help you however way I can." And then I hadn't seen him in a while, so I said to him, I was like, "Hey, you look like you got a little bit bigger." And he was like, "Yeah, I've been taking steroids." I said, "Okay." And I didn't know. I said, "That's not good for you." He said, "No, my doctor prescribed it for me because I have a brain tumor." And I was floored. And then from there, I had to watch him deteriorate and get weak. And he never got the opportunity to get on a stage and share his message. And after he passed, I mean, I felt there's something that you got to do about this. I mean, how do you deal with this? So I ended up, time went by. I was in this program called Landmark, and we had to create a project for the community and to better the community. I said, this is a great thing that I can do. So I wanted to be able to create something to help fight cancer. So we ended up creating this thing called the Boston Fashion Awards. And with that, it was designed. My goal was to raise $10,000 to donate to the Dana-Farber Foundation. And but then after you create that, you then give it off to someone else who then keeps it going, because that wasn't my mission. But in the process of doing all that, I created Living Cancer Free, which in Living Cancer Free, it's a community where people who have dealt with cancer, have survived, or people who have people that's passed away, they go there and they share their story in hopes to inspire people. And it has, right now, I think it has over 20,000 followers on there.
Nice.
And it's people from all over the world sharing their story. And for me, I just go on there. I mean, I monitor the page, but I just go on there and I'll read the stories and read people's story as they share it. Because for me, it's inspiring, and it helps me to see what's going on with the rest of the world, or people that's dealing with this, and how they're maintaining, and how this, they can go about dealing with it or survive, living with it.
Well, that's a great thing that you're doing, because again, it's always about what we don't know that can change our lives, and having access to these kinds of things, these kinds of resources, really are instrumental in changing people's lives. And so again, I commend the kind of work that you do. And quite frankly, again, that's the purpose of this prescription for your transformation, which is, as I like to call it, tapping into the collective wisdom of people like yourself and other people who've had their own personal experiences and have their own perspective or strategies for their own solutions and success in their own life. And so that we can create what I call that generous space where we can just simply work all together. I don't care where you come from, what your political or religious views are. We all can live in this earth with a lot of harmony. And the more that we find out who we are inside, and that's what's so brilliant, about Tony Robbins. I mean, his first question is, who are you? You remember that one? That resonates with me all the time. And it's really true. If you find who you really are, you own your own space, you own your own spirit and soul and your identity. Life is a whole different experience, and you get to focus on the important things, like your daughter, like helping other people. And the as I call it, the emotional currency, and I can see that it's yours as well, is when other people receive the benefits from your help, receive the benefits from your inspiration. So that's really awesome. I was impressed with one of your comments because it's also about perspectives. And you said to me earlier on, we don't live forever. And the young kids these days think that life will go on forever. And
Yes.
so they never really go ahead and do the stuff that they know they should be doing because they think there's enough time.
That's true. And for me, that's part of my message, because I look at this when I was young and I was a teenager, and I thought, I'm never going to get old or whatever. And when I look at someone, I'm like, oh, they're too old or whatever. But so I didn't focus on things that matter. But again, I didn't have the right people around me to show me that. So right now, I mean, I've done several talks in different, like in Boston, I've gone to a couple of churches and talked to the youth. I've talked with the Boston Police Foundation. They have a thing where we go in and we talk to youth and mentor them. It's like a day that they give to the youth to teach them about different things that they could be doing. And I do those things just because I want to make sure that these kids have an opportunity to do better, be better. Because I believe that if you can take a child, whether, let's say they're 10 years old or whatever, and you take that child and you show that child how to go about creating, or just not even, because kids at that age, they're not really focused on, a lot of them focus on having fun. But if you can make it fun for them and inspire them to go after what they want to do in life and not be afraid to go after what they want, then that child is going to grow up to be someone productive in life, to be someone that's going to be successful, to be someone that's going to create something beautiful in this world. And I can't help but to think about the kids that because I met this young woman and I was talking to her, and she told me that she never knew peace. And I met her in New York, and she said, I was like, what do you mean by that? She said, I was born in a country where, when I was born, it was at war. There was civil war. There was things going on. There was bombs going off, and I couldn't imagine living a life like that. Even though, to me, it's like, the place where I grew up, I was like, okay, I grew up in a good place compared to where she was growing up. And to have someone say that, and the thing is, like, how it made me wonder, how does these kids get affected? If they, you got bombs going on, and people are being murdered, and they're growing up watching this. What are they going to be doing in life when they get older? Lucky for her, she found modern dance, and she was able to get out of where she was. But what about the ones that didn't get out? Right. What about them? So my thing is, like, if we can give these kids something that can help them grow, become productive, and become successful in whatever they choose to do in life, then it's my way of giving back. It's my way of leaving a legacy, if I can do that. So any opportunity that I get to do that, I do
that. In fear of sounding politically incorrect, my view on the children, and this is, worldwide, is that as much as people say that they're focusing on children, I think it's really the forgotten generation, to be honest with you, because they're being taught the things that serve them in the best and possible way. And the truth is that we should really find out what's the true potential of these children, what are their dreams, and help them, just simply develop and enhance and explore their gifts, their talents, as well as their dreams, and so that they can live life on their terms. And just like you say, follow your dreams. We try to put all these kids in all these different boxes, and the spirit of them just simply dies too quickly, and then they get lost, and then they get involved in things that they probably shouldn't. And I think that's just not so much a cultural issue or cultural problem, that in the purest of sense is just a result these kids are looking to belong with something, looking to, be the best that they can be. And when they don't have the right tools and resources because nobody helped them know what their gifts are, then they go out and look for places that don't really serve them because they don't know any better. It's not their fault. And that's unfortunate. So I really appreciate, what you're doing, because it is important work. And certainly that's the purpose of this platform, to help people like you get even more exposure, and also want to help you in any way in the future, with your mission and the things that you do. So I really want to thank you for today, George. I'm looking forward to watching your movie.
Yeah, I'll send you the information when I get it.
That's, and I have to add just one little story on that one. When I was early on, I started med school when I was 17, and very early on, by the age of 21, 22, I'd made a lot of my major decisions in my life. One of which, and I don't always share this with people, but one is like you want to contribute, you want to help. And so I already identified a very specific group of people that I thought that I needed to help. And that was that group were the gangs of New York. And I just felt that these people, unfortunately, were in a place that they probably didn't really want to be, but they didn't have any other choices. And I wanted to be able to go out there and help them discover better choices for them, because I just believe that everybody is a good person inside, that everybody is motivated by positive intention, but they don't always have the resources. And not everyone can do what you did, is just get out of it, find the right people around you to make a change. So again, I want to commend your work. And so what's your future like? I mean, if you fast forward, big movies, what's the plan?
Well, yeah, my future is actually this film, and I want to do film and television, but more film. And I want to do some big films, but I want to use that as a platform to actually inspire the youth and actually find a way to help fight cancer. Because I mean, there's got to be a way for it. And so I want to be able to create this as a vehicle to be able to follow that, and then also show other people how to follow their dreams.
Nice. Well, if I can help you in any way, for sure, let me do that. And so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation, Real People, Real Conversations, Real Success, having a great conversation with Jorge Lopes, actor and coach. I look forward to some amazing work in the future, which, you've already started in a wonderful, wonderful way. And it's really about tapping into that collective wisdom, finding the right mentors, finding the right solutions, like, obviously that you've already done, and just helping others. And so as we wrap up, George, how do people find you?
Well, they can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is I am living life, and
Nice.
just spelled just that way, I am living life. And they can find me on Facebook as Jorge Lopes, Jorge Lopes, and I pop right up.
All right. So any parting words that you'd like to share?
Well, the parting words, I mean, you've already said it. It's like my message I said to you is like, we don't live forever. So follow your dreams.
Follow your dreams. Amen. Thank you, George.
Thank
and
you.
I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, and I'll be back on Monday. So thank you. God bless, and have a great weekend.
Thank you for having me.